let me note that we will have Ambassador Fried will. What we will do is we will adjourn immediately after this testimony. This subcommittee will be adjourned at that moment, and at that moment after adjournment, General David Phillips, who was assigned to have duty and overseeing Camp Ashraf while he was in the military, will be here taking that seat and offering us a briefing on the information that he knows about and was permitted to testify yesterday before another committee. So with that said, we will proceed, and Mr. Ambassador, you may take what time you find appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Rohrbacher, Ranking Member Carnahan, Judge Poe, thank you for the opportunity to testify. I wish to report to you on progress in the administration's efforts to support a humane, peaceful, and durable solution for the residents of Camp Ashraf, as well as on challenges that remain. When I appeared before this subcommittee last December, a humanitarian crisis appeared imminent. The government of Iraq had announced its intention to close Camp Ashraf by December 31st, and there were valid concerns that this could result in bloodshed. Members of this committee appeared to share such concerns. It was under these circumstances that Secretary Clinton instructed me to work with Ambassador Jeffrey and the United Nations to avert a humanitarian catastrophe. I am relieved to report significant progress, while recognizing that the job is not yet done. On December 25th, the government of Iraq and the United Nations signed a memorandum of understanding that provides a way forward for the safe relocation of Ashraf residents out of Iraq. Secretary Clinton quickly announced support for this MOU. We called upon the Iraqi government to respect the terms of the MOU and upon the residents of Camp Ashraf to cooperate in its implementation. With the signature of the MOU, the Iraqi government lifted the December 31st deadline for Ashraf's closure. Under the terms of the MOU, the residents of Camp Ashraf gained a temporary transit facility, Camp Huria, formerly Camp Liberty, adjacent to the Baghdad International Airport, to which to relocate under guarantees of security. The MOU also provides for in-person monitoring by the UN Assistance Mission in Iraq, UNAMI, headed by the able and energetic Ambassador Martin Kobler, and a refugee status determination process undertaken by the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, that's UNHCR. Additionally, through the MOU, the Iraqi government made a commitment to the principle of non-refoulement. These were important steps forward by the Iraqi government. The first convoy to Huria took place on February 17-18 with nearly 400 people. A second and similar convoy occurred on March 8th, followed by a third convoy on March 19th, a fourth on April 16th, and a fifth convoy on May 5. Nearly 2,000 residents have moved to Camp Huria, over half the total. Each convoy has been a significant logistic undertaking. The Iraqi government has provided dozens of coach buses and cargo trucks, and thousands of Iraqi security forces have provided for convoy security on the road. The preparation of each convoy is lengthy, and disagreements, sometimes heated, have occurred between the Iraqi authorities and the residents about cargo screening procedures and other issues. U.S. Embassy and the Department of State follow the progress of each convoy closely. The progress to date is remarkable, especially given the history and emotions involved. But patience and compromise have been required and will still be required as the last convoys to close Camp Ashraf are organized. Living conditions at Camp Huria have also had challenges. There were early issues with water, sewage, and electric power, though many have been resolved since. There were early concerns about the location and size of Iraqi police units at Camp Huria, though here too a resolution was worked out. Both Camps Ashraf and Huria have internet connectivity to the world. There are issues that remain. For example, the government of Iraq needs to pay greater attention to the repair or provision of air conditioning units and other basic welfare needs such as accommodations for the disabled. With the onset of hot weather and new arrivals, electric power and water needs will increase, and the number of required utility vehicles will grow. The Iraqi government can work with the UN to address these concerns. The residents need to engage the Iraqi government, the UN, and others on these issues in a focused manner. It is important that the final convoys from Ashraf take place and that Camp Ashraf be closed. Our efforts do not end, however, with Camp Ashraf's closure. Indeed, we must not lose sight of our purpose. The relocation of Camp Ashraf's residents out of Iraq and the way for those residents out of Iraq lies through the UNHCR process. With startup issues being resolved, the UNHCR has intensified its efforts and increased resources to interview and review residents for refugee status eligibility. The next great task in this effort requires continued participation of the residents in the UNHCR process and the diplomatic work of relocating residents out of Iraq. The United States has informed the UNHCR and our international partners that we will receive UNHCR's referrals of some individuals. These referrals will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, consistent with applicable U.S. law. Other governments have stated their intention to take similar actions, and some have begun the process of reviewing residents themselves. Let me be clear. Mr. Chairman, it will be critical for the United States to demonstrate leadership in this area. Our doing so will be essential to finding a solution. We hope to have the support of the Congress and of all those who have expressed concern for the residents of Camp Ashraf. We will also need the continued cooperation of remaining Ashraf residents to relocate swiftly to Huria and continued cooperation of the residents of Camp Huria with the UNHCR. The next stage of this process will be challenging. Some in Camp Huria may choose to return voluntarily to Iran. Others may find that they have credentials and connections to European or other nations and can resettle there. Still others will require resettlement as refugees or other permission to reside in third countries through the UNHCR's good offices. Some of our European partners have indicated that they will interview residents to determine eligibility for resettlement within their respective countries. The United States will encourage prompt and secure relocation of the residents of Huria, and again, we must be prepared to do our part, hopefully with the support of the Congress. I want to commend the extraordinary work being done by UNAMI and UNHCR missions in Iraq, and the intense engagement of U.S. Ambassador Jeffrey and his dedicated team. Their diligence, creativity, and commitment have been essential to the progress so far. Mr. Chairman, Judge Poe, this is in the nature of an interim report. Much has been achieved since we met last December. Much remains to be done. But at last we are on a road to resolve this problem through the relocation of Ashraf residents out of Iraq. Thank you for this opportunity, and I welcome your questions.
All right. Thank you very much for your testimony. The ranking member will be returning, but we will proceed with his permission. And let me get down to the first issue about weapons in Camp Ashraf. Does the United States government in any way question that there are no weapons and have been no weapons in Camp Ashraf since the agreement that was made by the residents, by the MEK, back in 2003?
Mr. Chairman, this issue, that is the issue of Camp Ashraf and inspections, came up, as you said earlier, and I believe Judge Poe said, in the context of litigation in court, in D.C. court, federal court. And because it came up in the process of active litigation, I have to be extraordinarily careful in getting into this area. It is my understanding that the Department of Justice has sent a letter to the court which has now been filed, and I believe it is therefore available, which answers some of the questions that have arisen, and it's my understanding that that letter addresses the question you just asked.
So you should be able to just tell us right out what it is.
Yes. I have to be extraordinarily careful, but I can say the following. The mandate of my office and my charge from the Secretary is to support the process of having people move from Ashraf to Liberty and then from Liberty out of Iraq in safety and security. That process needs to move forward as fast as we can. Time is not necessarily on our side. I don't want to lose time and opportunity. I think I understand, or some of the concerns that have been raised recently as a result of these court proceedings are unfounded. My government and this administration are determined to move ahead. I hope that the residents of Ashraf will continue to cooperate. I read in an ad that appeared in the Washington Post that an inspection by Ashraf of Ashraf is an essential condition, I'm quoting, to continue the relocation of Ashraf residents to Liberty. I hope this does not reflect a considered opinion. The cooperation of the residents of Ashraf has brought, and the cooperation of the Iraqi government with the MOU has brought us this far. We're not there, but it's farther than many thought we would get. And we're doing all right considering where we thought we would be in December and where we feared we could end up. We want to move ahead quickly. We have large tasks before us, and it's on those tasks that we're focused. I don't know how the issue came up or why. This issue is filled with misunderstandings. But my focus is moving forward, and it's my strong recommendation to the residents of Ashraf and Camp Liberty and all those who wish them well that we move forward as fast as we can, while we have the chance.
Now let me interpret that. That is, with all of your heart and soul, you're recommending that we ignore the issue and not ask for a response.
Mr. Chairman, I would know better than to recommend that you ignore any issue in which you have an interest. I wouldn't dare.